didn't do a whole lot of piano because I knew I'd be on it every day this week. So that's about it.
Nice. Great. All right. A small class today. Lovely faces, which is fantastic. And we're going to make a start in just a moment. All right. So I'm going to wait till Alexis comes back because I have a pretty good idea, Erica and Alinta, where you guys are at. You're okay with identifying notes, being able to work them out, identifying letters and notes and stuff on the stave. Yep.
Yeah, I'm a bit slow,
Alexis,
but I'm all right.
Yeah, a bit slow, but you understand the principle behind it. And Alexis, where are you at in terms of being able to identify notes on the stave?
Yeah, I'm all right with that. The thing that I notice I struggle a little bit is just like if it changes, like obviously between like keys and stuff. Like I can do it flat. It just will take a bit more time if I have to find the key first and stuff.
Yeah.
Feel a bit rusty with those.
That's okay. You understand the principles behind every good boy deserves fruit and face.
And
stuff
yes. Yeah. 100%.
Cool.
Mm-hmm.
All right. That's good. Okay, well, we got that covered, which is nice. Because these are big beginner classes, I always want to make sure that we're moving in a very similar direction and that no one's being left behind.
Mm-hmm.
So please shout out if anything's a little bit unusual. And also just to put the learning and the agency in you guys and your hands and whatnot, is there anything that you'd like me to focus on today in particular? We've got a few more people entering the scene. And of course, I'm very happy to guide it, but if there's anything specifically that you're really curious about or want me to answer or have any questions, then I'm happy to answer those.
So for instance, on your, what was that last song?
Bridge Over Troubled Water?
Well, when you got, because not all, depends on how the sheet music's written out, but like say, like on my, like I've got, just for instance, Bewitched here, and it's like G7, G minus 7, but on some things it's like obviously G over something else. So just like obviously with how to play that, do you just play the bottom bass note, which would be G, say, and then on the top you would do the chord of G, M7, like that sort of stuff? Yeah,
we'll talk a little bit about inversions a bit more because I think there's always stuff to derive from that. Are you looking at as in Bewitched as in this copy?
Yeah,
or do you have another version?
I've got a different copy because I've
transposed.
I've done it in a...
Sure. Do you want me to look at yours or...
not necessarily. I think it's more the fact of how you would play that.
Yeah.
You know, you play the bottom note, say it's on yours, it's probably D, right? You'd play D.
You got this D minus 7?
Then you'd, D minus 7, and then you would do the rest with, do you start on the third, or like how would you play the hand?
Okay, yeah. As in how we'd spread it out across the hands.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Hi, Carrie. Hi, Beck.
But that's if everyone else wants to.
I just want to check in how everyone's going. And Carrie, I know that you're all good with identifying note names and stuff, but because this is a beginner class on a Monday and everything, Beck, can you let me know where you're at in terms of understanding how to identify notes and on the stave?
Me?
Is there anything?
Me personally?
Beck.
Oh.
Beck Schilling. Rebecca Schilling. Can you hear me?
Yes. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. You're live.
Okay. Wonderful. I don't know. I'm getting there on the stave.
Yep. You're getting there? Sorry, you're just breaking up a little bit.
I don't know.
Coming a bit robot. Do you have an understanding about the principles of like how to identify a note in a certain space and a note on a certain line? Oh no, she froze.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Was that Beck saying yeah?
I said yes.
Okay, you just froze.
I'm sorry.
Okay, cool. So you're good, all good with every good boy deserves fruit in the face, and the good boy deserves fruit always sucks.
Yeah.
Cool. Just want to make sure we're sort of launching off the same point. how would you all feel if we spent some more time on chords?
Yep.
Okay, because this is your time as well, so I want to make sure it's all sort of unanimous and guided in the same way. Now, we are specifically looking at a jazz piece, which means that things might get a little bit complicated, but I'm hopefully...
do something like easier if it's easier for everyone.
We'll start here for a moment, and then we'll see if we need to sort of run away.
Yeah.
Retreat.
I was doing that, and then I was like, oh God, this is now getting real complicated.
Let's see how we can pick a piece apart like this. Pick a piece apart like this. That was correct. Pick up on. Okay, cool. Daniele, learning how to talk. In a way that we don't get intimidated by all the numbers and the extra colored notes and stuff. So like, how would we do it? First step, if we didn't know what the sevenths are, we didn't know what the flat nines are and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, that's...
that would be a good way to kind of actually approach the song, because you're still going to get the rough idea. So for example, if I looked at the first bar, he's a full end, so that's a melody there. I would look at the first bar and I would first off just say, okay, D minor, that's the bare bones of that chord, D minor. All right, so who can tell me off the top of their head what notes are involved in a D minor?
DFA.
DFA. Yep. Now, can you hear me if I'm talking whilst the piano's playing? Yeah, okay. Has this weird compression thing where it sort of lowers the volume. DFA. Those playing at home, if you're pretty familiar with your D major scale. One, 3, 5. Scale degree 1, scale degree 3, scale degree 5. Okay, every note in a scale has a degree number. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Won't worry about 8. So scale degree 1, scale degree 3, scale degree 5. In order to find our minor chord, we just flatten the third by semitone. Okay, so it's always nice to have a major chord as a reference.
Is that a rule for all minor chords, that it's always the third that's flattened?
Correct.
Cool.
That's how you construct the minor chord.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's one way to look at it. Another way is to just count the distance between each of the notes. So 3 semitones between the first 2 notes and 4 semitones between the second 2 notes. So 1, 2, 3, and 1, 2, 3, 4. So 3 and 4. Otherwise, you just find your major chord and you flatten the third. Okay. F major, F minor. C sharp major, C sharp minor. I really encourage you to actually familiarize yourself with the black note major chords, just because they're generally ones we don't go towards because they just maybe intimidate us a little bit. So for example, your D flat or your C sharp, E flat, F sharp, A flat. It's hearing my girl. My girl. Anyway. Okay, friend. Get it together. So, we got our D minor, we got our G. All right? Basic. D minor, G. So last week I was talking a bit about inversions. So this is about voice leading. I want to be able to go to the G chord in the quickest way possible. So we got D minor, G chord. Everyone cool with that? Yep. So what are the similar notes in my D minor chord, which I'll play here, and my G major chord? What are like notes?
D.
Common notes.
D.
D. Everyone agree with that? Yep, no objections. I object. Okay, good. So the idea here is that we keep the common note, okay, and then we move every other note. So I'm going to keep D. So look at my left hand, which is down the bottom of the keyboard. I'm going to keep D. I need to move A. Where am I going to move A?
Up to the B.
B. Where am I going to move F?
To the G.
G.
To the G. Is everyone clear with that?
Yeah.
So I've just made a G chord and then D minor. So I could go, he's a fool. Yeah, it's not perfect, but it's not wrong at the same time. Okay, so there's my D minor to G chord. Just D minor to G, all right? Now, would you guys like to know about the 7?
Yes.
Okay, it's a trick question. You can say no if you want to. You're all here to learn, so you know. Now, last year I did mention... Last year, wow, we've been going that long, have we? Last week, that's what it feels like. COVID timescale. Weeks feel like years. Okay, so D minor. Now, when we have a 7, it's the flattened 7, okay? So, here's what I need to do. I need to work out my D major scale. Major 7, that's scale degree 7. And then I just flatten it by a semitone. Yep. Now, G7 means the same thing. Flattened 7. So, G major scale. Flatten the 7. So they're my 7ths. That's the actual one note.
And then you add that specific note into the D major chord?
Yeah, or the D minor, yeah.
D minor, that's what I mean.
Yeah, just to let you guys know, because jazz charts tend to make chords look a little bit different. This MI is just short for minor. Sometimes you'll see it as a minus, and sometimes you'll just see it as a little m. But yeah, correct. So now this chord is D, F, A, C. And what chord is also in that? It's a little bonus question.
F.
I don't know that off the top of my head.
F.
Major?
Yeah, it's an F chord. Good work, guys. So there's an F chord in there as well. Okay, so sometimes some people like to approach chords in just, okay, D minor, add the 7. And then other people will like to approach chords, well, what is it? It's a bit of this and a bit of that, you know? So sometimes if you get familiar with lots of chords, you can actually just stack them together and then wind up with your minor 7 chord. Just two different ways of looking at it. And the more you familiarize yourself with chords, the easier that will get. This D minor...
Can you show me where that extra chord
F major?
in that one?
Yeah, sure.
Yes.
So so we got D minor.
Oh, F A. Okay, right.
And
yes.
then F A C. Yeah, sorry, I didn't show you that. F major and minor. So a minor 7 chord is constructed of a minor chord and a major chord. But the major chord has to be a minor third above the so I'll rephrase that. So a minor chord, but the major chord has to be built on that third note in the chord. This is for those playing at home who just want to, I don't know, get crazy. Which I encourage.
Is that formula kind of always going to be seen? So from that third, you'll know that like the F major will come in because F is the third.
Yep.
So you'll always know that that's the major that you'll play.
Yeah, exactly. If you're playing a minor 7 chord.
Okay.
So for example, G minor.
Yeah.
G minor. G minor 7. Okay. Say I can't be bothered working out 7th for whatever reason, and I know my chords, my major chords really well, then I'm going to build a major chord off of that 3rd degree note, which is a B flat. So I'm just going to build a B flat chord, okay? And then I'm going to add the G back in. G minor 7.
Great.
Just different ways. And if you know your major chords really well and you can remember those formulas, then you can kind of call upon it whenever you need. Alternatively, this helps down the track when you have to build quite complex chords. But it's also nice just to kind of understand that, B flat is somewhat similar to G minor. So maybe when you're writing something, you can start to interchange them. You know, if you any aspiring composers here. So D minor 7, tick. Done. That's the end of that story. G7. Okay. G. Work out my major 7. Flatten the 7. Everyone happy with that so far? Okay. Now let me go down this alleyway for 2 seconds. Okay, so every note in a scale has a number. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. You can actually keep going if you so choose. 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. So, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then there's my 9. I just want you to kind of absorb that for a second. So that's 9. 9 and 2 are the same notes. Yeah.
So why don't they put 2 flattened
2?
2? Yeah.
Exactly. Why? Because they're crazy, right? No. There is a reason. So, and I'll explain as we go. And this is a really important distinction. But firstly, I just want to explain the concept of a flattened 9. As you can imagine, this is our 9, and I'm going to flatten it. Bam. It's very, very, very logical. So I've got my G chord, 7, flat 9. So I'm just going to admit someone in. Hey, Rachel. How we go with that?
Yeah.
Slightly more colourful chord, and you won't always need to play it, but it's nice. There's also a diminished chord buried in there. For those who were here last week, we touched on diminished chords a little bit. Diminished chords are all minor thirds apart. Okay, so that's a B diminished chord. B diminished 7th. Okay. Now, let me explain to you why they don't have 2. So, first and foremost, if it was a G, this is what you will see. You'll see a G add 2. G add 2. Now, 2 is the second scale degree, okay? I'm just going to add it. That's G add 2. Now, when we have any number above a 9 or above an 8, it implies that we need the 7 there. So whenever you have a 9, an 11, a 13, it's implying that the 7 has to be there. Whereas if you have a G add 2, you actually don't need to have the 7 there. It's actually telling you don't play the 7, just play a normal major chord with an add 2. But if you see a G9, this is nice. The G7 flat 9 is nice because it's already kind of telling you exactly what to do. But if I have a G9, this actually wants me to play not only the 9, not only the G, but also the 3rd, the 5th, and the 7th. So it wants me to play the major chord, it wants me to play the 7, and it wants me to play the 9.
Daniele,
So there's
sorry,
yep.
Would you usually play
Please go.
that, then the G in the bottom and then B, D, F, A in the right?
Yeah. And we'll probably touch on, maybe if I start like a bit more of an advanced class or something, we'll touch on actual chord voicings. You know exactly like what you can do with your right hand. But the quickest thing to do would be to put the G in the left hand, and then all the rest of the notes. Now I usually play left hand in octaves, just to give it a bit more punch. And then I'd play B, D, F, A in the right hand.
Can I clarify something super quick, Daniele?
Of course. Yeah.
So that G9, you're just saying if the sheet music were written differently and it didn't have the 7 and then the 9 there in brackets, it would be written as G9 and you would just imply that the 7th was already there?
Correct.
Okay, cool.
So the only reason this is saying the 7th is because we're altering the 9. Okay, bear with me. When I say altering, we're flattening it. We're changing the 9th. Okay,
Right.
so only when that, we call them extended notes or color tones or extensions. When we get into 7, 9, 13, 11, and all the extra numbers, they're our color tones. They actually they kind of decorate the chord a little bit, and we see them a lot in jazz. This, when we're writing out the symbol, and if we choose to alter one of those color notes, say for example we want to flatten the 9 as it's written there, we need to write the 7 there. Okay. Now it's quite okay if this is just understood on a bit of a superficial level just for now, because it's quite advanced. But I want you to understand that a G add 2 is a G add 2, and a G9 is actually you play G with a 7 and a 9. They're completely different chords. Okay. How are we doing, everyone? Any questions?
So, sorry, the 7th
we're getting a bit
isn't
advanced for a beginner. The 7th is flattened.
What is?
This one.
Yeah.
Because it's
So when you
relative to
do
G
the
major.
9. Okay.
Yeah. Now, if the chord said, we're going down a very dark tunnel right now, and I will take us back in a moment. If it said G major 9, what would I do?
Raise the
Not
7.
flattened the 7.
You'd be major chord.
I'd play a major 7. So I'd play my G major 7, and I just add the 9 on top. As I said to you, whenever you don't see the word...
There was a 7th there.
Because the 9, whenever you see a 9, it implies that there's a 7th there.
It's major 9. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So, and whenever you see a 9, the 7 is implied.
Yeah.
And when you see the word major, it's actually telling us to play the major 7. And when the major is removed, it's telling us to play the flattened 7.
Okay.
Just sort of put that in your back pocket for a moment. You guys okay if we just touch on a few other chords?
Yeah.
Anyone's mind's about to explode. C major 7. So what notes are in my C major?
E, E, G.
The
And what's my major 7?
is the B.
B. Is everyone happy with how we came to that conclusion? Well, we sort of jumped to it, but so as we go back to our C major scale, C major 7. So all I have to do is go C major and a C major 7, and then I add a 7. How you doing, Alexis?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm trying to envision it. I don't have a piano, so.
That's all right.
That's hard.
Do what you need to do.
Flooring,
You can see that.
flooring at the sky. Just imagining.
That's how I learnt. It's what you gotta do. Claw at the sky. That's great. All right. So, when the chords are in brackets, it means that you don't have to play that chord. Okay. I'm gonna pull up a pop song in a moment because this is just, it gets very specific. Meanwhile, once you learn jazz chords, you can play any chords. It's very much that way. So right now, I've got my D minor 7, D, F, A, C, G7 flat 9. Oh. Okay. I'm spreading that out a bit. We can talk about voicings in our next class. C major 7. I'll play them in root position. Sorry, that's cheeky. Yeah, so D minor 7, G7 flat 5, C major 7. Yeah, so yeah. He's a fool and don't I know it. Yeah. and then yeah. That's a lot. It is a lot in just 2 bars. Hopefully one day you start to even identify where the notes are placed in the chord. So for example, D minor 7. You can see that the first note is an A in the melody. Okay. So that's scale degree 5. And then R is scale degree 1. Yeah?
Yeah.
What is that E relative to G? What scale degree is E in the key of G?
5.
6.
1.
6. Yeah. And so then we add our flat 7. And then we're at our scale degree 5. Scale degree 5, scale degree 7. So lots of these tunes will be written on the color tones, which is to say 7s, 9ths, 13ths. It's kind of what makes them jazz, in short.
Daniele, can I just quickly ask? You might have already covered this while I was stepped out, but the A minor 9 there in the second line, is that also implied that the 7th is played?
Yeah, cool.
And
That's
it's
great.
flattened, yeah?
We didn't even touch on that, to be honest. Yeah. That's great.
Cool.
So A minor. Find my major 7 first. Flatten it. And then find my 9. The 9 is the second, just an octave up.
Yeah.
That's the B.
Cool.
And for those playing at home, it's a melody note too.
What is?
Yeah. So the melody note is built on the 9th. Show. Down to the flattened 7. Da-da. Good, Carrie. That's great. To be honest, we didn't get that far. Wait till you see things like this. It's like,
yeah, I don't even want to touch that.
What is that monster chord? And not only that,
so
it
complex.
actually it implies 100 other things. You know, it's so ridiculous. It's
and it's only played for like a second. Like, is there any point?
Oh yeah, it's tension and release, right? Have his charm.
Oh,
I mean,
so
yeah.
beautiful.
Yeah. Worth it when you hear it.
Jazz
Yeah,
is
it's
so
worth it when you hear it.
complex.
It's crazy, and then now, of course, it's in brackets there, which is to say you don't have to play it if you don't want to. It's just that the first time the actual melody goes. Die, die, die. It's nice. It's very juicy.
It is. Good payoff.
Very juicy.
It's not a very beginner song.
Lord, no. All right, let's look at some Hamilton, shall we?
Oh yeah.
What are we? What's our tempo?
Sorry.
Okay. So, first things first, key signature. No, not key signature. Let's think about time signature. What is it telling me?
There are 6. Oh, there are 8.
Sorry.
Right.
6 quavers.
Yep. I'll elaborate on that. So, top number is quantity, and bottom number is quality. I don't know how to abbreviate that. Quality. So, it's telling me that there are 6 somethings in a bar. Okay? So, when we're looking at rhythms, and I'll upload this chart into our resources folder. But rhythm is always something very important to go over, I reckon. Sorry to draw on the music. That's very clear, isn't it? This guy, this is a whole note. This is a half note. They do have other names. I'm sure you know them. We'll touch on them in a second. Oh, no. 2 brains. This is a, what is it? Quarter. This is an 8th. 8th. Yes. I'll just box that. What a time. That's clean. That's very neat. So whole note, half note, quarter note, 8th note. Also known as semi-breve, minim, crotchet, quaver. So it's important to have an understanding of both of these terminologies. So when we see the word 8th, whole note, half note, quarter note, 8th, it's actually referring to the bottom number. So this time signature says 6/8, so it's telling me that there are 6 somethings in a bar, 6/8ths in a bar, and an 8th is also known as a quaver. So there's going to be 6 quavers in a bar. And usually we subdivide the bar, and when I talk about subdivision, it's about understanding how the bar evenly divides within itself. We divide it into 6 beats. Some people divide it into 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and some people go 1 and 2 and... but the point is that you need 6 even beats. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Do you have any questions on that so far?